So the first step is AI prospecting tools. Prospecting is basically figuring out who you want to sell to before you even get any of their contact details. Because traditionally you would have to manually set filters across a bunch of different platforms to build your list. You would need to go from like Apollo, SalesNav, and a lot of different B2B databases, and AI completely changed this. Now all you need to do is describe your ICP in plain English or feed it your best customer profiles, and the tool is actually going to help you find thousands of prospects just like the one you described. And the tool I really like to use for this is Origami. Origami is the best one out there because it combines Claude with Clay. So you have an interface of a chat plus some tables that you would find in Clay. The issue with Clay is that it has a massive learning curve and it can be super overwhelming if you're trying to build your dream list from scratch. Origami fixes that. You tell exactly who you want to reach out. It clarifies your request and then it will help you build the best list possible. So let me show you how. So this is Origami. That's like the main interface. Here what I'm going to do is that I'm going to describe the lists I want to reach out to. So I want to find US founders at companies based in New York or San Francisco with an employee count between 11 and 50 employees. Ideally, they're using HubSpot as a CRM and they have some knowledge about outbound and go-to-market engineering. So look at their LinkedIn post or their LinkedIn engagement to check if they have posted or interacted with any sort of content talking about outbound and go-to-market engineering. So now Origami is going to think, so that's a very similar interface as ChatGPT and Claude. And then it's going to ask me clarifying question before actually building the entire list. So here I actually want to outreach to sell our own services. HubSpot is a nice to have. Here I actually want to make sure to have some knowledge about outbound and GTM, and I want to find a work email. I want to exclude agencies and consultants. Okay, perfect. So now it's actually planning the search. So it's going to search for founders and co-founders at companies in New York and SF with 11 to 50 employees. They mentioned outbound, go-to-market, GTM, cold email, or sales automation. So it's going to look for recent LinkedIn posts. So here it's actually explaining different steps. It's going to search LinkedIn for founders. Then it's going to scrape the 5 most recent LinkedIn posts and use AI to check if they're actively posting about outbound or go-to-market engineering. Then run a quick web search to confirm each company is not an agency or consulting firm. And then just double checking that the founder LinkedIn is up to date. And then after everything is reviewed, we're going to add the HubSpot detection and then find the work emails. Perfect. So here we have our first few leads. It's going to give it like a fit score. We're going to have the first name, last name, title, company domain, the location, LinkedIn URL. We're going to check that the LinkedIn profile is matching. Do they mention outbound and GTM, and making sure it's not an agency. And so here we see there's like the score being calculated. And here it actually estimates the amount of leads that we could get with this search query. And we can also see the potential costs if you wanted to run that entire search. So here the cool thing, what you can do with Origami is that once you have the list, you can find the emails and then you can use that list to directly outreach those people. So to have an integration, you can actually connect your Gmail so they can send emails in your behalf, or you can actually use a sequencer. So next we have the AI enrichment. So that's actually where you take the list you build and you start filling all the data you need for the personal and the company level of every lead, so you know actually how to reach them and what to tell them. So for that, there are a bunch of tools you can use for enrichments, but the one I still use the most is Clay. For me, Clay is literally the best tool for data orchestration. It's connected to every major data source and you can pull from all of them in one single place. And what really makes the difference is the waterfall enrichment. So if you look for a specific data point, let's say an email, you're actually gonna run through a list of multiple data providers to find the information you need. And so for example, for email, you're gonna use the first email finder. If the first email finder doesn't find the email, it's gonna go to the second one, and you're just gonna test series of email finder one after the other until you find the correct email. And you can do that for any data point. So it's gonna start with the cheapest provider, searches through them one by one, and only charges you when it finds a result. And instead of manually checking multiple databases yourself, Clay is gonna automate the entire process in seconds. So let me show you how it works. So here is one of our best Clay tables. We have a lot of different enrichments. We start with the profile of the person. Then we're gonna try to find the company. We're gonna have the job title. Here we're gonna use Apollo, which is a different B2B data source, to find extra info about the company. We're gonna find the size of the sales departments, how many SDRs they have, and how many SDRs they've hired in the last 2 months. Then we're gonna find open jobs, and you can see here the icon that's always referring to the actual provider we're using. So here it starts by looking for product leads, then Google, and then the data source from Clay directly. And so here I'm looking for SDR and sales development in the job title, and then it's just gonna test the different provider until it finds the correct amount. And so here you see for this company, Google actually gonna find 20 SDR open jobs, and so we're gonna keep that information. And sometimes you can see here that product leads doesn't find it, Google doesn't find it, and then Clay actually finds it. Here at Claygens, I'm gonna go back to this later in the video. Here we can actually see if there's been any recent news about merger and acquisition. Here we're gonna check if there's been between any product launch. And here, that's what I was explaining. We can actually use our email waterfall to try to find the email with the first provider. If the first provider doesn't find it, we try the second one, and so on. And then once we have this, we can actually leverage the data, let's say from the M&A news and the product launch, plus the amount of SDR they've hired recently, and use all of this to create the best outreach possible. Now, if you want to learn exactly how we use all of these tools to run a $7 million per year agency, there is a step-by-step guide inside of our Cold IQ Accelerator. You can access it using the link in the description below. So far, over 173 agency owners have used our exact systems to add anywhere between 5 and 50K in MRR and in new contract value. Guys like Jake, who went from 0 to 20K MRR in 2 months, and Danielle, that actually came with our finance background and who hit 40K in 8 weeks working with us. So if you want the full system and not just the names of the tools you should be using, hit the link in the description below. Okay, so let's get into a third category, the AI sequencers. Because once you've got a fully enriched list ready to go, your next step is sending out emails. And if you spend any time in cold email, you know that means you need a sequencer to send your campaigns and follow-ups for you. The one I always use is Instantly, because Instantly gives you unlimited number of accounts to send from, which is the main reason it's become one of the most popular platforms for cold email. But just sending emails isn't all a sequencer does anymore. AI has taken these tools far beyond the basic. First, now they've deployed AI reply agents that can read every incoming response, classify it by intent, and handle all the objections and follows up automatically for you. So instead of manually managing every reply, you only get notified when human input is actually needed. Second, AI sequencers optimize your send times in real time based on what's actually converting across all of your campaigns. So you can actually let the AI agent decide what is the best time to send email. They learn what timing helps your email perform better, and they adjust it automatically. So let me show you what it looks like inside of Instantly. Here's an example of one we use. We have one that's actually classifying every single email that comes in is going to be assigned a category. And so here you can see you can actually customize the agents, let him run on autopilot. So I can just take decision for you, the tone, the response length, and then the agent can actually answer. For us, we prefer to just let the agent assign a category before answering, and then we just want to keep a human in the loop. Here, the cool thing is that you can also ask in a chat interface to generate an entire campaign for you. Instantly also has access to a database, so you can actually find leads directly inside of Instantly. I just prefer Origami because it's more precise and you have much more data source that you can leverage and Instantly. You can write a sequence for you, you can generate campaign ideas, you can actually send weekly reports if you work with clients. I can actually audit the entire workspace and give you feedback. And so Instantly used to be the best sending platform, but now with AI in it, it can do even better stuff. Next up, we have AI note takers. So that's probably the category that looks super easy on the surface. Most people already use AI note takers, but it has one of the biggest impacts on the business for us. So what they do is that the AI note takers is going to join your meetings, transcribe everything in real time, and it's going to generate a full summary with action items. And then it can sync all of this to your CRM automatically before you even need to do anything. The old way meant that like every time you had a meeting, you had to type notes, listen, ask questions, and stay super focused in the conversation. And so that's how it was very difficult to figure out the exact buying signals and maybe some details about the deals that you might forget. And so AI note takers remove that entirely. The advanced tools go way beyond basic transcription. So now it can analyze your calls, it can detect buying signals, and it flag when a competitors get mentioned. And then you can even score your calls based on some specific frameworks like Bent, Medic, so you can actually improve between all of your calls. And so the tool we use for this is Fireflies, and so I can actually show you how we use it. We actually have the desktop app, and so it's going to record all the meetings. And the cool thing is that it's connected with Cloud Code directly through the MCP. And so usually what I do is that inside of Cloud Code, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to ask, hey, can you look at all the client calls we have had last week and give me an overall feedback about how the team is handling the calls, how is the client sentiment, and based on everything you have seen inside of the calls, what are some things we could improve to make our service delivery better? Check the Fireflies MCP and maybe check across 10 or 15 different calls. So I created one chief of staff agent that I've trained about everything in our business, and so usually it answers exactly in the format that I want. So here, of course, we're like editing the video. Everything always takes like a few minutes. For example, Origami, it took like 6-7 minutes, and here we're actually letting the thing run. So here I can get like a great feedback about how the team is running the calls with the client. And then what I could also do is that after this, I can ask my chief of staff to summarize this and create action items inside of ClickUp directly, where we can actually track all the action items across the business. So now we're going to talk about AI CRM. So CRM usually manage everything from your pipeline and contacts all the way to the deal flow and the deal closing. And the AI layer matters here more than in almost any other category because it directly solves the number one reason CRM usually don't work, is that people don't use them. Like, it's super annoying to manually log every email, every call, every meeting after a full day of actually doing the work and selling. And so actually using AI to fill that CRM is the best use case. So typically people feel that it adds zero value to closing deals and it gets super deprioritized. And now with AI, you can actually make sure that your CRM is actually filled automatically by removing the manual input entirely. So now with Atio that we use, it's going to auto-log every email, call, and meeting without the rep touching anything. And so it's going to enrich records if someone changed jobs, if they update the deal stage based on what's actually being discussed in the sales calls. And so your pipeline data stays clean, super accurate without anyone spending too much time in it. And so for that, the best CRM we use is Atio. And so I'm going to show you a cool use case. You also have a chat interface. Now most sales tools actually offer chat interface. And here what you can do, I can ask some feedback about the pipeline. I would want to know, how is the pipeline looking? We're approaching the end of April. Can you give me a breakdown of how many deals about to close and how much deal value did we close in April so far? Cool. So here you see the benefit is that you can just ask questions about your CRM. So rather than me having to go to the deals pipeline, checking everything manually, now I can just query it. And then finally, we're gonna like cover the last category. I know that like AI agents mean so many things right now, but here the agent I want to show you is actually inside of Clay directly. And so for me, agents, I almost see it as like interns that you can dispatch tasks to, and they're gonna make a very time-consuming task in your behalf. And here inside of Clay, it's more gonna operate in a co-pilot mode. You're still gonna give instructions, it's gonna come back with some information, but then you still need to do something out of that information. Now, a lot of tools are actually building their own agents inside of their own product, but one of the best agents for me, for research specifically, is Clay Agent inside of Clay, because Clay Agent can run autonomous research on any prospect, pull back enrich context, and drop it straight into your workflow. So let me walk you through a real Clay table so you can see what it actually looks like. We're gonna take the table from earlier, and you're gonna see that a few of the data enrichments were actually leveraging Clay Agents. So here, for example, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the company name, and then I want to find their ticker trading symbol on the stock market. And so here, Clay Agent is actually gonna do the research on its own, gonna figure out what's the best way to find the ticker, and then come back with the stock ticker. Here, I actually want to do some research about search fillings, and so we need the stock ticker to actually get the information. And so based on the previous research, then Clay Agent is going to continue and then provide a link to the latest 10K report. Here, what I can also do is asking to look at the 10K reports and provide information if the company is actually expecting a revenue increase in the upcoming months. And here, what I want to see is that if the company is talking in the 10K reports, if they want to start investing in AI, because that's actually a good buying signal for us. It means that we can actually leverage this and then pitch our AI implementation services. So that's 6 categories of AI sales tools that you should know about in 2026, but understanding what they can do won't get you very far in its own. You still need to learn how to implement them the right way. So if you want to see how we use Claude Code to generate unlimited leads for our agency, watch this video next, and I will see you there. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next one.